Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about how to make your own stop motion films, specifically using Lego.
So a lot of my story ideas have a lot of big, complex action sequences with lots of things going on that would be impossible for me to pull off in the real world, or live action as it's called. But when I'm writing, I don't want to be limited by what I can do in live action. So building my sets in Lego and then filming it using stop motion is a great way for me to actualize all my dreams and see them come to life. So when you're making a movie, the first step is to come up with an idea for your story. For the past couple of years, I've been making a stop-motion science fiction action-adventure sort of spy movie. So when you've got your own ideas, the next step is to build your sets.
So when you're creating the set that your movie will take place in, sometimes you can get away with using pre-existing buildings that you have from Lego kits that you've put together. This building right here is a Lego kit, and it appears every once in a while in our films whenever there's a space for a building and we don't have the time or maybe the bricks to build a building that looks this nice. However, you don't want to do this too much because your viewers will start to recognize that you're reusing the same buildings over and over again. And so at some point you're going to have to start building your buildings from scratch.
So when you do start wanting to make your own original sets, one thing that can be very helpful to do first is to grab some concept art for it. Commonly we build city buildings, so an easy way for us to grab concept art is just to Google pictures of buildings in whatever city we're trying to recreate. So if our characters go to New York, for instance, we can look up some pictures of iconic styled New York buildings and then just get a general gist of how they generally look. And then we build that into our own creations. Now, if you're trying to create something that doesn't already exist in the real world, one way you can get concept art for it is just by doing a quick sketch of what you think it should look like. Now, if that's not enough for you, one thing we've done in the past is actually gone to Minecraft and created a three-dimensional model of it. This is a great way to both conceptualize what it's going to look like in three-dimensional space, as well as communicate your idea with whoever else you're building if you're not exactly on the same page. So here's a set that I wanted that took place inside of a cave where a bunch of rebels were hiding out. So I just hollowed out an area in Minecraft and dressed it a little bit like I was thinking it would look, and then as we went along building, we just used the Minecraft model for reference.
So now that you know what your set's going to look like, the next step is to actually build it. Now, if you're building something like a building, one thing to keep in mind is that you only have to build what the camera is going to see, which is usually just the front of the building. For instance, right here we have this building front, but there's no sides or back, it's just this thin shell. This is called a facade.
One problem that commonly arises from building a facade is that they can be very structurally weak, since they're just one little thin sheet of actual building. So one thing that we usually do is create a support structure. If you've got a lot of Legos, chances are you're also going to end up with a lot of rainbow ones. And since those don't look very good in actual sets, we like to use those for support structures, since they don't actually use up any of our good-looking bricks.
One other problem with having facades is that the buildings don't have any depth to them. So if you have a lot of windows in the front like this, the camera will be able to see right through to the rest of your house or whatever's behind the buildings when you're filming. One way to prevent this is to cut out dark blue or black construction paper and tape it behind your sets.
Now, even though the iconic Lego brick is 2 studs wide, we've actually found it's much more efficient to use 1 stud wide bricks, since not only are they cheaper, but they're also much easier to remove when you're deconstructing blocks. Now, if you're going to be getting into building Lego sets, a great investment are these 48 by 48 stud Lego base plates. Not only do they provide a really great structure for you to build your sets on, pretty much anything can go on here, but they also give your minifigures something to stand on for stop motion. So once you've got your sets all assembled and placed, then you can start shooting. Right now, I've got all my sets placed on this light stage that we built, which has this great cage here, which allows me to place lights wherever I want, and also gives me areas to put these colored pieces of paper that I use as backdrops for the sky. We've also outfitted these lights here with areas that I can clip on these gels, which are basically just colored sheets that can change the color of the lighting for your set. Now that my sets are all in place and I have my people all set up, I've got my camera here and my subject who's going to be doing a little test for us. So I've got my camera hooked up to my laptop, which is running DragonFrame, which is a professional stop motion software that I like to use. However, there's lots of alternatives. You can either just use the frame record function on your video camera, or you can take pictures with a still camera, or there's even free stop motion softwares out there, especially for PCs. So the first thing that I notice right here is that my minifigure is being cut off by the frame. Now, if I was holding the camera, then all I would have to do is just point the camera down a little bit. But because this is stop motion and I'm going to be taking frames over the course of a long period of time, what I'm going to have to do is find something to prop up the back of the camera to angle the lens down a bit. So for very small adjustments, I've got my Lego battle axe here, and I'm going to stick that just right under the back of the camera, and that'll give me just a little bit of forward tilt. And then if I want more than that, I can use this, which is just a 1 by Lego stud, or 1 by Lego brick. And I can insert that like this. And if I want a little bit more, I can flip it the other way. So previously it was put in there like this. Now I'll flip it. And that'll give me a little bit more tilt forward. And then if I need a lot, so let's say I'm trying to shoot something on the ground, let's say a rock falls or something, then I've built this, which is just a little collection of bricks that I can either use like this under the camera or like that for a lot. So that all the way would look like this. So now I'm just going to show you one of the simplest animations, which is a walk cycle. I use what's called a 8-point walk cycle, which basically means that it takes 8 frames for the minifigure to walk 2 complete steps. So all I'm going to do is take a picture, and then once that picture is taken, I just move my minifigure a very small amount. So I'm just going to stick one of his legs out a little bit, take another picture, and then I just keep basically repeating this process and just move them a very, very little amount each time. And you keep taking pictures. And then once you've done that, you play it back in rapid succession, and each picture comes really fast after the next one. And that's what makes them look like they're walking. So you can see that it takes 8 frames. So if you're looking at each leg, I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in order for him to get back to a complete stop. So that's 2 steps there, and that's 8 frames just to have him walk across 2 studs.
Stop motion is a very tedious process. It takes a long time in order to get any good footage, but with enough work, it really can look amazing.
We hope that you've enjoyed these episodes, and hopefully you've learned a couple things that you can apply when you're working on your own projects. I'm Sam.
I'm Joe, and thanks for watching.